Well, the last few weeks in our nation's capital saw members of Congress power through a number of high-profile pieces of legislation to end the year. Hawaii Congresswoman Mazie Hirono played an active role in those developments. And after flying home in style aboard Air Force One, she's in the islands for a few days before heading back to Washington, D.C. And she joins us here this morning live in studio. Good morning,
Good morning, Kenny.
Thanks for joining us here this morning. Let's talk about some of the key pieces of legislation that were passed. Some of the pieces of legislation, Don't Ask, Don't Tell, as well as
I think that was really important, you know, that we need to treat people equally. And so as far as I was concerned, that was a major piece of legislation. And you're right, we accomplished a lot.
And another piece of legislation that was passed was the extension of the Bush tax cuts.
Yes.
A lot of Democrats were opposed to this. They thought that President Obama gave in to some of the Republican demands, especially for tax cuts for the rich, for the upper tier, making more than $250,000. Where did you stand on that? How did you vote, and why?
I voted against it because I didn't think that it created enough jobs, and it also is a huge hit on the Social Security Trust Fund, which is a major impending, I think, issue. And I did have a chance to talk with the president before my vote, and I shared with him my concerns. But you know, he still gave me a lift, so that was good.
And how did the president talk to you? How did he try to convince the Democrats to vote in favor of this? Because you voted against it.
Yes, he thought that it was the best thing that we could do going forward. And of course, I supported the extension of the unemployment benefits. That's thousands of people in Hawaii, and I've been voting for all of those in separate bills all along. But I think that the hit on the Social Security Trust Fund, which is going to cost $120 billion this year, coming year, that's problematic. That's a concern.
And also the deficit. It's a huge hit.
And of course, the tax cuts or extension of the tax breaks for the richest 2%, I'm completely against. I would have liked for that to have been done away with.
Well, the House will reconvene in the new year,
Yes.
and what are some of the topics and some of the issues that people here in Hawaii are concerned about, and what's the most important issue that you'll be working on?
I've been completely focused on jobs. And I talk to farmers, I talk to people all across my district, and they're really concerned about jobs and the economy, and so that's what I'd like to see the new Congress focus on. I don't know if they will, because up to now the Republicans in Congress have taken no responsibility for the economy, for the unemployed, for job creation. So now that they're in charge, I'm hopeful that they will move forward and not be focusing on things like, let's privatize Social Security, let's privatize Medicare, let's get rid of the Department of Education. Those are some of the things that they have talked about. Let's eliminate the health care provisions that support families.
And people are always complaining that people in D.C., the politicians, never get anything done. This past lame duck session, Congress passed a lot of legislation. Why was it last minute? Why did it happen all at the last minute?
Actually, you know what? The House had passed literally hundreds and hundreds of pieces of legislation. Everything from addressing global warming. The Senate had 400 House-passed bills that they had not been able to move, including, by the way, the Akaka bill and a lot of other legislation. So it was not last minute, but it was an opportunity to accomplish something that's good for our country.
And before we let you go, we also have to talk about your trip on Air Force One. What was it like? And tell the viewers what you saw, what it was like.
It was really quite an experience, and I had never been on Air Force One. It's a huge plane, and there are different sections, so it's not as though you're just hanging around, you know, drinking Mai Tais or anything like that. It was an evening flight, and the president said he came down to say hello to me and Senator Akaka. We were in the same area. And he said, we were sleeping. I said, Mr. President, you could have woken us up, you know. He said, oh, I didn't want to do that.
So he came down very quietly.
Yes, we did have a chance to chat briefly, but you can see that this plane is in tip-top shape, and there are all kinds of electronic things in there, and you know, it's really quite. It was quite an experience. It was pretty cool.
And I also heard that you reminded him to go get some shave ice.
Which, by the way, there was a picture of the Obama family eating shave ice in the New York Times. So it's good that he's here. It's part of his whole rejuvenation and reconnecting to, I think, the culture and the people and the food in Hawaii. And it's good for us that he's here.
It must have been an amazing flight. I think everyone watching is very jealous. I'm jealous. I know Mahea was jealous as well. Well, Congresswoman Mazie
Just don't be thinking about running against me, okay?
We thank you for joining us here.
Thank you.
Morning.
Happy New Year to all of you.
And if you want to watch this interview again, you can always check out our website, kitv.com/thismorning.